Today at shopdapp.com, we're going to be talking about LED taillights for Mark 7 models. Okay, so this video is going to do our best to explain everything about Mark 7 LED taillights. As you can see here, we have a wide array of LED taillights for Mark 7 models. These are going to be the earlier LED taillights, and then here are the facelift taillights. This is obviously just the outer taillight, and we're going to talk real briefly about what's required for each of these and options you have for the model. So this is referring to present day models in the US, which is only Mark 7 models. I won't be able to have more insight until the facelift models come out in the US, but for US Mark 7 models, we're going to talk about the different options. So let's first start with the earlier versions of LED taillights, which is going to be these three. We have the cherry red, or the bright red version, the cherry red version, and then the tinted version. So this version came on European Golf Rs from the factory, so a lot of Golf R guys went down the road of this one originally. This was a factory GTI LED taillight. This one actually specifically is made by Magneti Marelli, which is the same manufacturer as the other this other European light, but this one comes directly from them, so it is a much more affordable option. So if you're looking for the cheapest way to go with factory quality LED taillights, this would be the set I'd recommend. And then this one is the Chinese OEM one. So the Chinese OEM lights, they came from the factory in China with this LED taillight. It is different and does feel like less quality overall than these other two European versions. It's still a solid quality taillight. We had these on our demo vehicle for a very long time to verify quality and make sure there weren't any issues. Never had any problem of any kind. So I wouldn't be concerned about quality. But again, even with that said, this Magneti Marelli version is going to be the most affordable option you have and would be my advice to go with. With that said, let's talk about the options of what you would need to make this work on your car. So the early version LED taillights have a couple options because the electrical connectors are actually the same on these LED taillights as the ones that come in the vehicle, with a minor difference. You have to shave off one piece of the connector on the factory US spec cars to plug into these lights, but you don't need to necessarily do any coating or installation to make them function just at all. Now, if you would like to have the amber turn signal work, which is that clear line through the center of all of them, you do need to have wiring, which we have a wiring harness for that, as well as coating with a scan tool of some kind, whether it's OBD11 or VAGCOM. You would need something to code these taillights to make them function in your vehicle. You do have the option, again, to plug and play them. We'll show you the operation here of what it looks like if you just plug and play them without any coating or any harness. Or if you do have a harness and you do code them, they'll function like this. Now with that said, we are going to talk about the facelift taillights. These are pretty new for us currently. They do have a different harness. The plugs on the back of these lights are completely different, so you absolutely have to have a taillight harness to make these work. The coating is different, the harness is completely different, and it's much more complicated to get the functionality you need for this light because US models have very far less pins to deal with, electrical pins in each one of the connectors. You have to get much more creative to make these work properly in US model cars. So we have our harness for that, as well as the lights themselves. We're only going to be selling them together or the harness alone, because we're not going to sell lights without a harness because they actually don't function at all. You cannot make them work at all without a harness. And again, coating is going to be much different on these than it would be on these. So if you're coming from these lights, you're going to have to get your car back to stock and then code to the proper coating you would need for the facelift taillights. Now we talk about rear fog lights. There's going to be options on these lights. It would come with rear fogs as well as this one would. The coating, unfortunately, because the way VW did some of changes in the Mark 7 models, later models, or 2015 early models, had different coating than the later models and up to current for rear fog. So unfortunately, it gets a little more complicated. We have information about that, channel 26 or 27, depending on the model. Again, early models use 26, later models use 27 for that coating. But we'll have as much information out there. We include it when you buy the rear fog wire, when you're adding it on to this harness, or we'll be including it with this harness, which already has all the stuff already pre-built into it, because this harness is kind of much more complicated and needs to have stuff cross over and add together. So with that said, thank you so much for watching our Mark 7 LED taillight video. Remember, all parts talked about in this video, including taillights, harnesses, and coating devices, will be linked in the description below. And as always, support for purchases for parts like this or any others help support videos just like this one. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more like this.